There we go. There's the chat. Oh, wow. I'd be surprised if anybody's going to stick around with this. We are going to play some amazing music. What's going on, deprogrammer? Ivy, Sonnet, what's going on? Right, cool. Good as well. Yo, welcome to the demo drop.
Dave, with no issues at all.
Everything has gone perfectly. We were always supposed to start at 37 minutes past 9. Right, okay, let's listen to some music. Well, no, first of all, no, let's not listen to some music. Let me introduce Tyr Kohout. Obviously, we've been doing these demo drop sessions. This is the fourth one now. It's been one of my favourite things to do, except for the last 37 minutes. I've made some really, really good friends, heard some amazing music, signed some amazing music, and now I have a guest on the show. Now this is the next step up. So, have you been excited about this, Tyr?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's always a good day when I get to check out some new music, especially with yourself. I've done a format like this a million years ago, but it was kind of under different circumstances. It was for remixes, but kind of the similar idea. You check out music, you get a genuine reaction. I've had the Excel sheet up, but I haven't clicked on anything, and so Dave and I are basically going to react with you in real time to music, and then hopefully, technology permitting, we'll be able to share our feedback and enjoy the nice tunes you've sent. How many got sent in, Dave?
We've got 18 tracks, I believe, so we're going to try and get through them. Nice. If we can't, then obviously they roll over into the next one, but it'd be really cool. There's some really big names as well. There's some really big names. In fact, we start with a pretty big name in my world, but I don't know how big they would be for you, really. They're big because they booked me in Poland. It's Evergreen, and also Tom Encore and Inside Defects. So it's 3 Polish artists. We recently hosted a mix of theirs. Well, no, we just ran a news piece on a mix of theirs, which was like a whole hour or maybe even longer of purely Polish drum and bass music, which was amazing. And now they've sent in a track which they've all made together as well, called Infinite Gold. So I think now, because you're going to listen independently, because that's another technical nightmare we've had this evening. So right, if we go 3, 2, 1, and we both play together right now.
Yeah. All right. Finally listening to music, everybody.
Hey. 45 minutes late. Yeah, so this is Tom Encore, Evergreen, and Inside Defect. Evergreen, he first came onto my radar when he sent in a mix for a DJ competition exactly this time last year, when I was trying to get people to know about the boat party that you guys were on. Hello, Rolling Resistance. Too late for this show, but we're every fortnight. Boy, this is what we need.
Hey, we're off to a good start so far.
So let me know, everybody in the chat, if you can hear it okay, if there's any problems or anything. This really is beautiful, yeah. Oh, hello Soul Crew. Got your demo, I know that. Coming up really, really soon, actually.
You know what it reminds me of, Dave? Is break, but in a good way, not in a like a way, but it kind of has that groove.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not too sure then, because I got an auto duct fitted to my voice. But Tyr was just comparing this to break. Definitely feels like a breaky kind of tune. Yeah. Go on, right, okay, so quite a few of you in the chat now. I can see you, Benu, Gwills. All of you got tracks coming up. Chazwav as well. Yeah. Yeah. This is great. Loads of variation on it. Like, just really nice groove. Yeah, very, yeah, it sounds good to go, right? See, I could imagine this at a summer festival. I could imagine somebody like Makoto playing it, or maybe Marky on an intro. A nice kind of sunsetty tune.
I'll definitely play this if the guys want me to. I'd be happy to support this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think any tunes that you're hearing, you can download and play. I'm certainly taking the liberty of that. So Deprogrammer's saying his mic has dropped. Is that my mic? Or is that Tyr's mic?
I hope my mic hasn't dropped. It's just a bit quiet.
Right.
Check. There, that should be louder.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I can hear you better.
Yeah, I feel like this might be a contender for our Liquidity set in December. It's really, really nicely done.
Wow. Go on, cool. So you've got an ear out for your Liquidity set.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
Like 2 to 3 months in advance, you gotta be building your sets up.
Yeah. Right, let me get everybody's unless Gooder, are you still in the chat there? If Gooder's not there, I can get everybody's. No.
And chat, let me know if I need to go louder on the mic. I can keep turning it up.
Bam! There we go. Everybody's SoundCloud right there.
Appreciate you, Tobin. Yeah, if there's stuff you want to send. All right, I can go louder. Check. That's like, should be a lot louder now.
There we go. That sounds really nice, actually, for me.
Cool. All right,
That's
we'll keep
a nice
it there. And
balance.
if people don't like it, we can keep messing with it.
Brilliant. Go on. Cool. So what are your thoughts on that then, from a professional engineering point of view?
I mean, honestly, now I'm on headphones, but yeah, I mean, I don't truthfully know what I would change. Like, it's a very professional sounding tune. Yeah, like I think these guys are from Poland, right?
Yeah. All three of them.
Yeah. No, great job, guys. I think you did an excellent work there. Like, oftentimes I can hear something I would change like this or that in the track. To be perfectly honest with you, I think that's done. Like, it's mixed well. Everything is like put in a great spot in the stereo image. The writing is groovy. Like the chords support the vocals well. The vocals aren't buried. The vocals don't have some weird chorus or something like that over them where it's like hard to hear. I really have no notes like as far as like how you can make that better. That's basically good to go.
Yeah, I think the best feedback then is what you do with it and who you send it to and where that goes, really. I would say sit on that and look at around an April or kind of May release. I would definitely try and get that into the wallets or the USB keys. Wallets, that's quite an old archaic phrase. The USB keys and the playlists of people like Break. And anybody who kind of plays that kind of, Makoto, Marky, anybody looking for those kind of soulful musical vibes. But yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, please do follow everybody that you see in the chat, and we're going to move straight on now to the next track. So this one's now Soul Crew and Genesis Elijah. So last time I heard a Genesis Elijah track was when London Electricity dropped like an exclusive on the Sun and Bass interview, which is coming out on Metalheads. Like, Genesis Elijah's getting around, like, and he's getting his flowers finally. I've known Genesis Elijah since I put him on the cover of IDJ magazine with Atomic Hooligan and around about 2007. So we go way back, almost 20 years. Nice. Amazing MC and vocalist. So I'm ready. Have you got it queued up? Should we do the 3, 2, 1 again?
Yep. We can do the 3, 2, 1. I will follow your lead, sir.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's do it.
So Soul Crew. So I'm imagining another kind of musical, kind of soulful one here. I'll put there. There we go.
I noticed I was clipping just a little bit there before, so I just backed it off a bit on the volume.
Okay.
You better hope I came here in a good mood.
Hey, go on.
Ate some good food. You better hope the bouncers
He's got the fire.
Cause if not, MCs are about to be slewed. You better hope my missus didn't just tick me off. You better pray the promoter didn't just rip me off. You better hope the club don't cut the rhythms off. Cause once I get up on the stage, it's all kicking off.
Yeah, peace, man, yeah, keep it love, it's all sweet, man. J. Coleslaw, no beef, man. Please, man, I don't need or want grief, man. Keep it down if you want all your teeth, man.
Oh, wait, no.
I like that line.
Mic in my hand, crush planets with my weak hand. Tin-pan sounds get fried and deep pan. If I'm lying, I'm flying, my feet didn't leave land. Are you mad? Mad?
Oh no, it's getting to bed, that fucking worse. No, it's too much. Too much. Oh, for fuck. Yeah. If there's a bit like the other bit, I'm fucking gonna go mad. Still.
You better hope I came here in a good mood. You better hope I just ate some good food. You better hope the bouncers weren't being rude. Cause if not, MCs are about to be slewed. You better hope my missus didn't just kick me off. You better pray the promoter didn't just rip me off. You better hope the club don't cut the rhythms off. Cause once I get up on the stage, it's all kicking off.
Yeah, sorry about that, I got mood swings. I'm a good dude, but the music makes me do things. Don't be a wally, don't be stupid, just be cool. You see me? I like two things.
Shutting down dances and killing MCs. Which MCs? I don't care, any MCs. Any MC step up and get killed cause it's...
Well, massive props to Genesis Elijah for using the word Wally in some bars. No one's using the word Wally as much as they should be. So 10 out of 10 there. I think that he's playing and manipulating a lot of kind of MC stereotypes there, really. I think, and kind of playing around with expectations of MCs, but also performers as well, and how sensitive we can all be before we kind of go up on the stage there. Sounds like, because Dan from Soul Crew is in the chat here. Soul Crew were a new name for me until I was going through the demos and putting them all in the spreadsheet and stuff. So I'm just going to, everybody, you've got the SoundCloud up there, but it's a duo from London, former hip-hop producer Dan and radio DJ Dev. So the start of what's sounding like a really kind of interesting potentially huge act here with a very kind of specific sound. I'd like to listen to more of your stuff, Soul Crew, and I think on a normal stream I might kind of dip into a few things there to get more of a picture, but for me that's wicked. That sounds kind of like it's been made for radio. It sounds like it's been made for Genesis to perform on stage, and less so for kind of DJing or mixing. What are your thoughts, Tyr?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think those are all good observations. This does seem to be a track that has been probably geared for to be as big as possible, which is sort of leads me to what I would do personally. I would love to hear this track with like 40% less stuff in it. Is kind of what I hear. It's just very full of everything all at once, and I found it hard to even understand what the vocals were saying at points because the percussion was so busy and there were so many different things going on at once with like the pads and synths and whatever. It was kind of hard to know where I'm supposed to focus my attention. I find with vocal tracks, just having worked on so much of them at this point, that when the vocals are there, you kind of have to use the rule of threes in music, and this is kind of an old Motown concept of you can really only focus on three main elements at once. So just to take older music, for example, there can be kind of a drum riff, a bass riff, and a guitar riff. But you wouldn't necessarily put vocals over that as well. That's four things. So we need to get it down to three, and that's kind of what I would use as a rubric for this. If I feel like the bass is quite filled in and loud and doing lots of stuff, the pads are doing the same, the drums are doing the same, now that the vocals are also like quite intricate and full of things, that's where I'm getting a little lost in terms of where I'm supposed to direct my attention. So I think how this could be better is when the vocals are on, let's strip it back a bit, let's get the percussion less crazy, let's get those synths and that kind of thing, let's filter those down a bit so I can hear what the vocals are trying to tell me, because the performances I think are fine. I mean, exact production stuff, I mean, yeah, whatever. Maybe it could sound a certain way, it could not. But I think the performances themselves are fine. There was a bunch of slang in there that I'm not familiar with. So, Dave, you'd have to probably clue me in on. I think there was a word you used I'm not familiar with, but
Wally.
Wally, okay. So the chat can laugh at me for not knowing what that is, but we don't have that type of nomenclature around here. But that doesn't, just because I don't know what it means, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's an old school kind of, like some people might have used in the 80s or something, even before, like if you're being a bit silly or being a bit of a wally. It's a very polite cuss, really. You don't hear angry MCs like when they're on an angry flex like Elijah is there. But I think, he's stepping into a caricature, and it's really interesting that you said all of that, because my first thought was like, I can hear his lyrics real clearly, but there was too much like that. I think maybe a change in drums, because I also like the kind of almost Exorcist style kind of arpeggio that was in the background. I thought that worked nicely with the vocals, and the beats sounded a little bit kind of chunky and blocky, so maybe they could be slimlined down a little bit, or maybe taken down to just like 808s type of thing. So then that would subtract things quite a lot, wouldn't it, in that type of way, in the way that you're saying.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the hip-hop sort of background. I sort of wonder if this should just be a halftime track with more of a trap hip-hop focus. Like, it might not be the right avenue for this type of vocal performance to be a drum and bass tune. Like, there's certain things that I think work and don't. I think that the shouty, like, rah type of vocals that he's going for, they work well to fill the whole thing, like that whole space up. So that's probably what I'm feeling to an extent of, like, I kind of want this vocal to take up even more room in the track instead of having to compete for everything else. So I do wonder if the track were at half of the like number of beats, where we do cup, like that sort of rhythm, as opposed to filling it up really, really densely. Just a suggestion, right? Again, I claim no expertise. I claim nothing other than my own opinion. I think it would be an interesting experiment to basically make this 174 hip hop, personally, and that way you can get away with a more swagger type of movement in the track. Boo, like make it swung drums, loose, almost off grid. A few hits that are off grid that are notched and turned and twisted in every different way, but then that vocal can be really straight on, and that's kind of your anchor point in the music. Just a suggestion. I think it might work well, though. That would kind of answer the question of how do we strip it back as opposed to making the percussion super simple. Well, what if we just made it half as dense? That could be interesting, but
cool.
At your discretion, because creative visions and all that. I don't want to tell someone what is right and wrong on creativity, but that's what I would do.
This is amazing. I'm really, really enjoying this, and this is like that type of level of feedback is something that I just haven't been able to give, and I can't give. I don't have that expertise, so it's amazing to hear that type of feedback as well, and have a guest on the show who's able to do that. A lot of the people are in the chat as well, because everybody in the chat are usually producers as well, so that kind of side of things normally comes out in the chat. That's amazing. Thank you, Tyr. So are you ready now for number 3? Now this is two pretty big names in our niche world, and by the way, Soul Crew, thank you very much. I'm now following you. You're on my radar. Let's continue chatting. Please carry on sending me music. It's wicked to be connected. So are you ready now for the next one, Tyr?
If you give me 5 seconds, I will be. Okay, it's downloaded. I'm ready to go. You wanted to go for it, Dave?
All right. Okay, so you're not streaming them then, right? You're actually downloading it. So this is Gwills.
I'm downloading them. Yeah.
Gwills and Plasmator, both known to me. I've supported both of their music. Plasmator just done a live interview just the night before he released his album.
Nice.
He's literally just dropped his album on Grand Theft Audio a matter of days ago. So on the count of 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Let's do it.
Ooh, getting a ravey intro straight away there. So let me.
The waveform of this track's gonna be loud as heck, so I'm gonna turn this down a little bit so I can hear you. But yeah, I prefer to download them, Dave, just because if I'm going to give comment on really exact stuff like that, I want to hear it 100%.
Of course. Oh, yeah. Getting a real kind of Prodigy vibe. You know this is going to kick off. We already know what type of reaction this is going to get. Okay.
I know for a fact that my boy Dave Lewis would love this track.
Tell me about Dave Lewis. Yeah.
Very, very talented guy in Toronto. Criminally underplayed. So anyone who likes these type of like geku like types of beats, oh my god, you will love his music on Spotify.
Cool.
We'll get him
Cool.
on the show one day.
Brilliant. Wow. Yeah, unexpected jungly. I like that. Yeah, deprogrammers into this. I'm kind of being familiar with Gwills' work and with Plasmator's work. I really didn't know which way this would go.
Yeah, these are 2 new names for me, so it's a totally fresh list.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah. I'm trying to work out if I was listening to this, if I'd be able to work out whether Plasmator was involved. Because I'm very, very...
Like Gwills to you.
Gwills is in the chat. Thank you very much for sending this, Gwills. Yes. Go on. There's a proper kind of super shooter type of vibe on that then. Yeah. Lots of love for this. Lots of love for this. Hey! Plasmator's back on. Go on. Cool.
Nice to have the guys in the chat.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the beauty of this show, is that most people who are checking in are checking to see if their tunes are being played, and then also a lot of people are chatting together, and then people are making friends offline then and sharing tunes and stuff.
That's great.
Actually sampled Super Shooter, brilliant. So can you see the chat then, Tyr?
I've got it open on my second one.
Ah, right, okay, cool. Oh, I'm still getting trauma from the chat of second monitors. Go on.
Figure that out off stream, Dave. You'll love it once you get used to it. That second monitor thing.
I think that's when I'd have my laptop by my screen. That would be nice if you kind of need to just put something aside for a minute, but you still want it there.
Yeah, it's sick.
Those piano-y bits, they're my favourite little kind of... They're the details that I'm really interested in. Yes.
All right.
9 thumbs up. 9 thumbs up. I really enjoyed that. I was, a lot of people talking about the jungliness, unexpected jungliness. I knew that was going to be a good tune, but I didn't expect it to go quite that kind of raucous and tearing. What are your thoughts, Tyr?
Yeah. Definitely. So I always love to hear music that uses that do ga do ga do ga do ga do pattern. I'm sure there's a better name for it than me just telling it to you, but yeah. So you're already hitting a soft spot for me. On a technical end, I do notice that the amount of subs in the different sounds are completely different, and I can see it in the waveform and on my... I know you guys can't see this at home, but I have a spectrum analyzer here as well.
Cool.
The kind of the main bass parts are really subby and fill the whole entire thing up, but then those kind of, I guess we call them like the old school jungle bass, do 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 types of sounds. They're really tiny on the waveform, and I can hear it. So we're losing a lot of those subs when we're going to different patches where some of them are super subby and the other ones are not subby at all. That could be an artistic choice, in which case, okay. But I think it might be worth having a look just to make sure your subs in all of your different sounds are aligned. So you're not losing impact and power, because especially when you play the stuff loud. If I can hear that in my headphones, the difference, then you better believe you'll hear it in the big sound system when you're playing it on a 100,000 watt system. If you're losing your subs for certain sounds, not ideal, because you'll kind of suck the energy in and out when people are dancing. Like, that kind of thing matters a lot, where you keep the subs super consistent if you can. It's a art and science kind of together of just sitting at your screen and pulling up your favorite analyzer of choice, because I also appreciate not everyone's sub is going to go that low, and circumstances for listening are always different. Headphones are always different, or whatever. But I did notice it on my end. But let's not fixate on that too much. The writing is cool. I think it goes in a lot of directions. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's a lot. Like we go like to switch up to switch up to switch up, but it's cool. It keeps things interesting, because the opposite of that is keeping it flat the whole time, which is not good. If it's just if it's a track that you've made just to mix into other tracks, then fair enough. But that's not really listening music. Whereas I think someone could listen to this, they could DJ it. Because as you know, Dave, that's hard to do. Where if you have listening music that can also be DJ music, I still struggle with this. 10 years into making music, like how do I make this work for both audiences? So I think you guys have on the creative end of things. I wouldn't fault you for any of the decisions you've made. I think that they're interesting.
There's definitely, I feel you could mix this in, but it needs to stand alone, so it tells its own story. Some tracks are just made for mixing, and that's the vibe in itself. I think this does stand on its own, but again, when I'm listening to something like this, it's like, what would I mix this in with then? What tracks have I got which this would fit in with? For me, it was the little pianos that were just in the backgrounds that were kind of gently going up and then gently going down at the start of the phrase and then at the end of the phrase, which I only started to notice from the second half in, but they're the little details that you might not that are normally added after a kind of demo stage, which makes me feel that this is kind of more on the completed side, or quite a lot of thought has been put into this in that type of way, I think. And because it's the details which people kind of pick up without, almost subconsciously, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The only other thing that came to mind that I would say might be worth some attention, the lead sound, that do bop 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 bop, that sound, for me, it's a bit sharp. It's a bit too pokey above everything else, because a lot of the other sounds that have been chosen in this track are smooth, they're deep, lush, rich, like they work. That one, it could be a creative decision on purpose to make it stick out super high above, maybe for DJing especially. You want to hear that one lead sound, have people sing along to it. That totally makes sense, right? Bricks Don't Roll works for the reason it does, is because you have the sing-along lead, so that could be the intention here. I would love to hear a different sound applied to that, so that it sounds more congruent with the rest of the sounds in terms of how it's a little more smooth. Just my 2 cents on it. I think that would go a long way, since that's like what I would call like an anchor point of the track. It's something you're supposed to remember, because I can still remember it, right? It's a catchy lead, it works, it's not too complicated, and it gets right in your head right away, so that by the second half of the track, you've remembered it and people can sing along to it if they wish. I would just love for that sound to be a bit different, like, design wise. Other than that, there's a few pieces, like when you have that extra snare drum on top of that's like complementing it, there's kind of like a extra, I know what the whole thing's breakbeat, but there's like an extra breakbeat section where more samples and stuff have been added on. I would shrink those in the stereo a bit, because they're super wide, and then all of the other breaks are completely mono. So it'd be good to find a balance there where we're not blasting out here for certain drum hits, and then other ones are like completely in the center. Let's kind of squeeze it in there a little bit, kind of like here. Still have it wide, but maybe not totally binaurally panned. And I know it's probably the sample or whatever else that's been chosen. You can just take a utility in Ableton or whatever DAW you're in, just kind of put a 50%, and that'll go a long way to marrying it together, so we don't have a big contrast of sounds that are left, right, and center. We have stuff that's kind of here, and using all that space goes a long way, since that kind of gives you a spot to put something. If it's on my left or on my right, it's a powerful thing to use your stereo image to say, hey, I can't turn this up anymore, but if I turn this over here, then it has a place to live now. And I noticed that a few of the elements were taking up a lot of space here, but just an observation for me. It's certain drum hits, and the guys would know better because they made the track, like which ones they were, but I noticed a few hits were maybe a little too stereo, in my opinion.
This is amazing. This is really, really cool feedback. Super detailed. See, this is why I've signed this guy's music. He knows what he's doing. I'm brilliant. And if you're watching and you're wondering, like, why is Tyr the first guest? It's because we've just dropped an amazing single of his, I Made a Boo Boo. Oh, I'm saying this so you can download the next track, by the way, Tyr. I'm saying this to promote your single, but also just to pad up.
Yep.
So the next one is Zona, Assistance Required, but I'll give you a minute to download it. His single came out on Monday, I Made a Boo Boo, and The Hunt comes out now on next month. And I don't know if you know this, but I very much doubt you would have listened to Vision Radio yet today.
No, I was at work. I came right from work.
Okay, well, you got a nice little surprise waiting for you afterwards. There was a nice little surprise waiting for me when I did the show as well. Go on, big up Plasma Tour. Okay, so we're going to listen now to Zona. Zona is very much known to me. The track is called Assistance Required. When you're ready, we'll do the countdown.
I am. Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. We're on the journey.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed the track, Will. It reminded me as well, the other thing I was going to say, reminded me of a kind of new school break sound before it got all cheesy, around about the kind of late 2000s, maybe mid 2000s. It was a great sound of that kind of like that hardcore breaks, hardcore beats, I think the label was. And the dude went on to set up Black Butter. Anyway, we've moved on. This is Zona, Assistance Required. That's the title of my life.
But yeah, the track we just listened to was great. These are little icing on the cake details. I'm not saying it's bad tune at all. It's great.
Nice to hear so much soulful stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious where we go with this.
Go on, going for like a kind of classic liquid vibe, and this is the sound that Zona has made for himself. That kind of old Creative Source kind of liquid sound. Come find Zona's SoundCloud. Go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's a latency between us, as you can imagine, chat. The track strikes me as being a mixing track. Like, this is something you blend in with other tracks over top.
Yeah, or when you're getting into a groove, definitely. When Zona's got a really specific, it's a very kind of traditional liquid sound. This was like the first kind of early sound of liquid that like Fabio would have coined on Creative Source's label. Solar, Marcus Intellects, definitely getting in heads down into the groove type of function of the music.
Meditation music.
Type of music that you can totally get lost inside, really.
Yeah, this seems like 3 a.m. music is how I would describe it.
Or 3 p.m. music as well, like.
Yeah, true.
When you're kind of getting into the groove, arriving, deep liquid. So it's great to see Bennu and Sonnet. Your tracks are coming up really, really soon. I don't know if Chazwav is still in the chat as well. All of you are coming up relatively soon, within the next kind of few tracks.
Yep, we'll get there.
Yeah.
One thing I do wish, Dave, wish the bass went more places. It's just kind of like da 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 the whole time.
Right.
I think the journey could benefit a lot by even just a few variations here. There's some stops, some holds in the bass, some just pure break sections, some just synth sections, like things like that. But I think this track urgently needs a few more bass pieces in there to keep the vibe going.
Cool. So it's kind of got the structure, but it needs more colouring in as such.
I would say so. Yeah, the outlines are there. It's and this bass, I'm not saying get rid of it, but I don't think it should be this do 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 for 6 minutes. Because that's a long time and a lot of space for you to go and explore and do kind of weird things with it. But again, prefacing just my opinion does not mean I'm right.
No, I think you're right there. I mean, one of my main bits of feedback is always variation, really, in that way. Zona is very old school. He's not really active on social media. He's that old school in that type of way. I mean, he's not old school by age. He's part of the new generation. We have got people lying in bed listening to this. Brilliant. It's like a lullaby. Very strange, rowdy lullaby. But I mean, his tracks are like, 6 minutes. He's gone for the classic liquid sounds, the length and everything.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
D-Pro saying it's a zone out tune. I mean, Zona he's got that groove. He's got that kind of signature. When I was chatting to High Contrast a little while ago, he was like, nobody's really making that classic liquid sound. And it was one of those kind of hold my beer moments. Come on, like, you need to listen to Zona there, because he's got that crunch, he's got that kick. I like the fact his drums are really nice and kind of crunchy. I definitely agree. I would love to there we go. Fly Anastasia's heard you on Vision Radio. So you're on the Twitch, you're on the Vision Radio. Release with one more thing and we will get you everywhere, as long as that's like platforms that I have access to.
I mean, you know just about everyone, Dave. You're Mr. Cool Guy.
Oh, I don't feel like it. Mr. Annoying Guy is just always in people's faces. Right, so who have we got next now? We have got... Q Prick. Okay.
Yeah, so I've got it downloaded. I'll just kind of wrap my thought around the Zoner track. So again, I'm probably taking a very unpopular stances here with the track, but that's okay. I don't mind being a martyr. I see what you mean with the crunchy break. It is very like 2006 feeling. I could be a little off on my dates there, but it's kind of like old school to me. I would like the break personally to be a bit brighter and more hi-fi. Like even if it's just an EQ setting here, we're just kind of lift the high end up a bit, because the break almost seems like inappropriately dark compared to the pads, because the pads are dark, the bass is dark, and the vocals are kind of filtered down to be dark. So if the break is dark too, like the whole track just feels really dark. I think it's very important in music to have contrasts of light and dark and left and right and up and down. Like things need to live somewhere. I think that's part of what's making it tough for me to feel the momentum of the track, is everything doesn't, like, there's not enough contrast sonically between the elements. It's all so in one place, and the progression of the track is so kind of like monotonal or whatever you'd call it, that I think that's where it's not drawing me in like a lot of other music. And that's where my comment of like, this is maybe more mixing music. That's my feeling as a DJ is this could work, but I would need like other stuff on top of it to put back in the stuff that I'm kind of not getting from the track. So I structurally, some stuff would have to change for this track for me to feel like super excited about it. I would need to hear, just to summarize, like more bass variations that would go a long way, and this track would benefit it a lot. I'd really like to brighten up those drums and make them more impactful on that high end. Get some more sizzle going instead of them being really round. Sounding like the rest of the sounds are already very round, and that's great. It's just something has to be bright, like I'm missing that. And if it wasn't a variety thing, this track should probably be 4.5 minutes. I think like we should probably suck, some sections down in here and just kind of get right down, distill it. Because if the vision for the track isn't to have tons of variety and just kind of stay in one lane, that's cool too. But I think if we're staying in one lane for 64 at a time, which is just visually how long this track looks to be, it's like 64 and a 32 and a 64. I think we need to get that down to like a 48 or something like that for the drops, so we don't get we're just kind of droning on past a certain point. Like we got the message by 320, and I can see even in the waveform that the first and the second drop are exactly the same.
There's
like
a symmetry there, isn't there? Yeah.
So that's just my comments about it, and I apologize if that irritates his owner, the guy who made the track.
Very
It's
much
just how
started
I
with.
feel about it.
No, Tom is a very open-minded dude and would appreciate proper feedback like that. Like, the whole idea for this, even where I haven't got that technical knowledge or technical, kind of vocabulary and stuff, but I'm trying to kind of find things that you can feedback on, because nobody just wants you to be like, hey, your tune's wicked, and that's it, really, do you? You want to have that feedback. So I've got no doubt that Tom would be really excited to hear that kind of level of feedback. And, Coben's saying there in the chat, they say your feedback is inspiring him to finish off tracks. So this is amazing.
Great.
And I definitely want to have more guests of your knowledge and caliber on the show and stuff, because this is brilliant. Right, so we're going to go on Q-Prick now. He was on the very first show, and he sent another tune. He was really appreciative of the feedback on the last one. So he's on the first show. Now he's back with a track called Escape the Vortex.
Okay. I will cue that. Would it be okay if I took 30 seconds to use the restroom?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Right. So just keep them entertained for me for a second, Dave. And then
I can keep many people
return.
entertained. And what I will do is I will bring up the Cygnus link for the hunt and share that in the group. So anybody, while you're waiting now, you can quickly have a little look at that. This is coming out on Monday. We've had a track on Inspected, so let me just bring that up for you as well. We've had this track Lurker has been premiered on Inspected lately, which has been absolutely amazing. So here we go, Tyr Kohout, Lurker, and this was on Inspected. It was actually supposed to go on Inspected with Yellowhertz, his friends, and they made it in a music shop they used to work in. So here we go. I'm going to put that in the chat as well. And, of course, the lead single as well, which hasn't got the same big numbers than Inspected have given it, because it's on little old One More Thing. But here it is. There we go. He's already back. That was the quickest pee in Christendom. There we go. I haven't even been able to share everything. Efficiency.
The bathroom's just right there, so it kind of all works out. And I grabbed myself a little pumpkin drink here. It's a
pumpkin
drink. Yeah, it's a pumpkin beer, pumpkin ale from a Canadian company called GLB. So we're gonna have
wow, cool. Yeah. Go on.
I'll save you one if you come here to Canada.
I do want to. I got really excited by the concept of doing that. Well, let's have a listen now. Let's crack on now. So, Q-Prick,
count us down.
Escape the Vortex. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, we're in.
Okay, there's a bit of drama here already. Let me turn this up a bit.
My guess is this is going to be neurofunk, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I think I'm right.
When we're just
Hey, yeah. So definitely on that kind of contemporary neuro tip.
Yeah, this is kind of what I call a zoomer neuro.
What was that, sorry?
It's kind of what I would think of like zoomer neuro. It's a very new approach to neurofunk.
Yeah. No, I keep losing the volume. There we go. Yeah. I think, as I said before, when we played the Q-Prick track, is Amanu has definitely got quite a lot to answer for, really, isn't it? In terms of that kind of inspiration. Also, June Miller. I'd say like Abyss or June Miller before. Well, definitely that. Yeah, I think your microphone has gone down.
Really?
Yeah.
Super loud. I haven't changed anything. Check. Yeah, it's like that's as loud as I can. I can go a little louder, but it would be clipping. Check. 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2 2 2. Check 1 2. That's as loud as I can make it.
I think the difference is when I'm playing it either off SoundCloud or off Dropbox. Yeah, my mic's coming in through my audio interface. Ah, there we go. It's good now. Cool.
Yeah, I'm even just about clipping, but it still sounds okay. I can't make mine any louder.
Have I shared Kubrick's details? Not. Here we go. So Kubrick is from Germany.
Good place. I like Germany.
Yeah, there we are. And in terms of kind of, like a lean track, that is bam, like that's a package right there. I really enjoyed the drama of that. I really enjoyed the story of that. I think that very much fits in, perhaps almost a little bit too similar to the kind of Imanu sound and stuff like that, but having listened to a previous Kubrick sound, that is the kind of sound that he's developing himself there, of his own, that kind of take on that style. How does it sound to you technically?
And I'm not even convinced that it's a bad thing for tracks to sound similar to Imanu. I've been compared in my sound to Camo and Crooked maybe more than I would like, even though I'm not trying to sound like them. People just make that comparison, so it's kind of like, I don't know, I've just kind of learned to live with it, so I almost try to stick up for people that get compared to other people at this point, because there's so many people making music, it's almost, like, I'd say kind of impossible to sound completely and totally unique. So there's always going to be a comparison there. But anyway, not to get wrapped up in that. I think the second drop, it's not happening for me. I think the second drop probably could be, you can integrate some elements of it into the first one. Maybe just do a cinematic outro or something like that. But I don't know if the second drop's like really adding anything that makes me feel super strongly. I think the first half of the track is definitely much better than the second. The second, you know what it feels like, is when you put your stuff that you didn't quite know what to do with, like over here in your arrangement, and you kind of just like, I'll do something with it later. That's sort of what it sounds like to me. And I'm trying to be insulting. I've done this, like just had stuff on the second half of a track, then where I'll leave it in the render and kind of think about it later. But that's kind of, as an audience member, what I'm getting out of that. Right. The first half though is cool. Like I really appreciate the way that it builds up. It's like, it's fun, it's interesting. I think tense is a good word that you use, Dave. Builds it up, makes it interesting to get then to that payoff point at, I think, what is it at? At 046. Pretty typical build up length for like a kind of a neuro tune to have like a first 32 and then get right into it. The vowel bases I think are an interesting take on the sound. They're maybe a little too metallic for how.
So is that? Did you say vowel bases? So is that like the kind of springy? Boom, 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 boom,
that type of thing. Those kind of like deep sort of tones. I think they're almost there. They're like 80% there. I would just like to hear them a little less kind of brittle sounding. Just kind of bring it and fatten her up a little bit, and I think we're there, because I think the drum grooves are cool. The drums sound nice. I don't have any complaints about that. It rolls well. I don't think it's overly percussed or underly percussed. Like, it's got the right amount of stuff to fill in the rhythmic pieces, especially for DJing purposes. And I think the ideas are totally legit and fine. I just think really the big one for me is that second drop. I would like to just see a completely different direction for that.
Wow, cool.
You could you could recycle the elements of the first drop if you made the breakdown 32. It looks to be 16 to me, which is too short for a breakdown, especially for mixing purposes, unless you're doing AMC style mixing where you're just bang to tracks. Most DJs don't really mix like that, in my experience. They let stuff breathe for a second, so I'd really like to see that as a 32. Give me some new ideas in there, maybe a new take on the build-up. And then if you wanted to do like an ultra minimal version of the first drop, that could be cool, right? If you want to really borrow a little Emanu style, like see how little you can get that down to, where it's just the absolute essential pieces of the ideas, just kicks and snares and basses, and bring those in, a few little break beats, you know what I mean? Like you have some cool drum fill sections where it's just super low basses and drum fills for 16 or 8 or something like that, alternate between. I just think that there's some unexplored territory in that second drop that you could go to, that would be super inspiring. But that's how I feel. The track feels like it's still a whip, so I don't mind being a little more critical on it, because I think that there's a lot of good little seeds in here that you can grow, and I would encourage those to be grown.
Cool. This is brilliant feedback. This is way better than any type of feedback I gave. This is amazing to hear. Right, so we're going to move on to Bennu. Bennu, are you still here? Because he said he was listening in bed. So maybe Bennu has fallen asleep. Or you can wake up to this. I'll send this to you on YouTube. There we go. No,
I'm almost ready.
Rolling Resistance, I think you're definitely in good company here. I can remember Capone Friday as well. I'm showing my age. Yeah, so I think maybe Bennu has gone to bed. Sonic, yours is coming up in 2 or 3 tracks time as well. We've got quite a few we've got. Right, so we've got Bennu, Dysfunction, Chazwav and Sonnet, Replete. Then a Dukan, so this is like that big chunky bit in the middle with lots of regulars. Right, Bennu's still here. There we go. Okay, right. Are you ready for the 3, 2, 1?
I sure am.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, we're in.
Okay, so here we go. Let me just turn that up a little bit on Dropbox. There it goes. Put
the track's mastered a little quieter. You'll have to turn it up a bit.
Okay. So Bennu, I am aware of your work on Subdued Audio. Jack has sent me your tunes in the past. I think I was playing one of them quite a lot in Sun and Bass before the streams. Creepy intro. I like this.
We're off to a good start. I like a minimal intro that's not overly puffed up, because you're supposed to space things out, and I think that we're doing well here, but I'm curious to see where we go.
There's quite a few tracks that just hurled us in on the action straight away.
Yeah, which is fine, but it just depends. Not every track should be exactly the same.
This is eerie. I'm liking this. Nice, strong, soulful vocal there. Yeah, and there was a good remix as well. Yes, I did, Bennu. I did play it. I played it just before I was doing streaming interviews every day, and I was playing a lot of the Subdued stuff that I was mixing before. I will have to have a little look and tell you which one. Yes. It was Street Raised that I was playing, and also the Gangs remix of No One But You. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Some lively action in the chat there. Feeling that vocal. and how it kind of goes with the grungy kind of bass as well. Oh. Big up Santa. Quills is into this, Sonnet's into this. Lots of love for this one. Soul Crew's into this. It's a classic vocal, isn't it? I'd be interested to know where this sample's from. Probably Splice. But it sounds like it's from an original tune. Yeah. That's a famous house vocal as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, Benno, you'd have to give me a little bit of closure on where that vocal's from. I'm really interested in the arrangement of this because this has been just an ongoing progression throughout. There isn't a breakdown, there isn't a second drop, but there have been new elements coming in as the track has progressed. It's not sat still at any point.
I think it works.
Oh yeah, I'd play this. I'd definitely play this track. I think there's a really interesting kind of arrangement to that. So yeah, on a technical tip, vibe-wise, I've noticed in quite a few people using a kind of soulful vocal, a male soulful vocal as well, in this type of way. I'm trying to think of some examples of tracks. I think there is something on Subdued, actually, the label who sent me some of your stuff before, Ben.
Can I share my screen at all? Is that allowed? Oh, host has disabled participant screen sharing. There's one thing I want to point out with the track. I don't know if it's possible to enable.
If I make you host,
sharing.
is that going to ruin this stream? But I don't think so.
I think it's just a setting. I'm the host now. Let's see what happens when I share. Okay.
You're the host.
I just want to show something here in RX because I noticed it right away. Are you seeing like a big waveform, big blue waveform at all, or do I have to like hit OK?
Yeah, you gotta hit OK.
There we go. Okay. The reason the track is quieter is because the limiter output was turned down to minus 1.8 or something like that. You see how there's a bunch of unused space here? Yeah, it's like 1.8 or whatever. There's no need for this. Just turn the limiter output to 0. So you can just get a free 2 dB extra loudness if you just let your limiter go all the way out. So that would be quick free tip for the actual like output here is to don't do this turning your limiter down just to turn it down. But as far as the track itself is concerned, that's pretty much all I wanted to show. Now back to my beautiful face. The actual track itself is interesting. Like I like what's being attempted here. Like it's like an old school roller is what I would call, almost like kind of like a Hazard type of thing, but old school Hazard. And I don't mean this. This track sounds ancient. Like I like that it's bringing back some old themes that worked well. That people aren't really doing a lot anymore, which is kind of a shame because I think it's worth kind of experimenting with these old ideas, the kind of big tubby bass lines that just kind of really hammer you right in the face. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think that it's great that that's being tried here. My thought about the bass itself is I wish it was an octave down. It's so high, like as far as bass sounds are concerned, you never really hit the subs ever. Like I know there's little moments and stuff, but do. You could easily throw that down an octave and it would still work on a big system. Like, yes, I know it wouldn't come through on little speakers, but you could kind of get the sound modified within Serum or whatever you're using to make it, to still make it audible on little speakers. But I think you're missing an opportunity here by not using those lower registers, especially on a big system. You're gonna want that, like the really low 30 hertz, 35, 28 hertz, those like low D and low C and stuff. Those notes can sound great if you engineer them right. What I did notice though, so that's the good. What I did notice is that a lot of the elements in the beginning sound like they're not in the right key. like there's some synths and the vocal and the kind of, I call it like the bass ghosts, like kind of like preemptive hints of the bass. Nothing sounds like it's in the right key. So it's as though you've mixed three unrelated elements to each other. So something has to be done there. So I don't know if it's going to be a matter of using isotope nectar and rekeying the vocal or changing some of the MIDI notes in your synth patches or both. But it sounded kind of ugly there for a second, like we're train wrecking, and it took me out of it for the first, because the intro is really long. It's like
so what part of that was on the intro? Because I thought there was for me there was a key issue very slightly when that kind of additional bass line bit came in around about kind of 4 minutes towards the last kind of chapter of the tune. There was another layer of bass or another characteristic that came in.
There could
that
be
felt like a key issue there slightly. But I think that could have been this. I think that's the vocal sample, which is
it could very well be
else sound out of key. So it's all in key except for the vocal sample, maybe.
So that really stuck out to me, is that there's things in the beginning that don't seem to agree key wise. I'd have to listen to it again to tell you exactly what's what in there, but there's something not quite right in the beginning, and that above all else, that has to get fixed first and foremost. But that can easily be done. Ableton just released an update in version 12.1. It has an integrated pitch correction plugin now. You don't have to buy one. For anyone not on Ableton, if you have, isotope nectar, or if you have Melodyne, whatever, that can be addressed. Just make sure you're picking the right key for whatever you're going to correct it to. Like some of the notes work because they're kind of more like shouts and atonal shouts. That's totally cool. I think that there's some sung notes in there though that are not agreeing with the key that the pads are in, and I think what doesn't help is that the pads are kind of almost like not really following a key either. Like they're kind of just going in places, which can work, but as soon as you throw something like a vocal that has a key in with pad or like lead pieces that don't really, you're gonna run into some issues. So I'm just very sensitive to these things because like mixing vocals together with the music is very challenging to get right. And in the way that the keys interact with each other, you can have accidentals and you can have things that jump in and out of key here and there as like artistic things, but not at the same time. Like if your vocal is to go out of key for a moment on purpose, just make sure you're not putting stuff in there that highlights it, and vice versa. If you want your synths to have accidentals, make sure your vocal ducks out of the way for a second. You do your kind of riff that's out of key and then go back in, or with your bass or whatever. But yeah, to my ears, it doesn't seem to agree in the beginning. But I think that the track foundationally is not like a total rewrite. There's just some things that need to get tweaked. Yeah, let's get some low basses. Let's address some key issues in the beginning with the vocal, and I think we'll have a really solid piece there. I don't think there's really much of a need for a breakdown. I think structurally it's cool.
Yeah, structurally, I think I really like that form, really, in that type of way. Like, it's quite understated. It's just, it kind of rolls out in that way. So now we are ready. Now I've noticed that Angel of Death by Dysfunction, there isn't a download function on that, so are you going to stream as well then?
I'll have to, yeah. Okay, that's fine. I'll stream it.
Okay.
All right. I'm ready when you are, sir.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, we're in.
Now, Dysfunction sent us a track. I think their track was on episode 1 as well. If not, yeah, no, it definitely was episode 1. And they said when they sent it over, this is a little bit different, and then in brackets, a lot. Chazwav hasn't got a download on as well. Can you enable it?
That has to be on their end. It's a little tick box when you're uploading it that says enable downloads. It can be changed after the fact as well. If you go and edit the tune, you can re-enable downloads. I'm just going to turn it down.
And the seventh angel poured forth his bowl into the air, and a voice cried out from heaven, saying, "It is done."
I think this is going to kick right off.
It's reading about the end of the world. And what's this?
Yeah.
I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Oh my word.
Would you call this hardstyle, or is this something else?
I think this would be called crossbreed.
Crossbreed.
This particular style, yeah, it's like a kind of mix of like hard tech, Nero, kind of getting into extreme forms. But I think when I've chatted to Dysfunction before, they've called it crossbreed as well. This is brutal. Let's turn it back up a bit.
Yeah. Become death.
Ooh, little switch. Crossbreed Technoid. Big up Santa. Yeah.
Destroyer. I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Whew. I think that's an Oppenheimer sample, isn't it?
Definitely is. That's I mean
Yeah.
that's his his line that
Yeah.
people know.
Yeah. I haven't seen the film. I just saw it on a scientist dude's T-shirt at
okay.
Wombat Festival, and we had to ask about it.
I think it's overhyped. It's fine, but the whole movie watches like a 3-hour trailer, so
And the
you know,
seventh
sue me in the
angel
comments.
brought
But
forth his bowl into
I thought
the air,
it was
and
okay.
a voice cried out from heaven, saying, "It is done." A man with
Jumpy.
your
That's how I would
responsibilities
describe that
bring
movie.
about the
Very
end of the
jumpy.
world.
Like we're
Okay.
every minute there's
What's
something
this?
like that. It's just like God. Like let's just stick on a plot line here,
I
guys.
am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Oh.
Death. Destroyer. I am become death, destroyer.
Definitely like it when it switches into that kind of drum and bassy swing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sold on it. I think it kind of works better when it's more that I'm gonna keep using the word hard style because this is a little out of my league. But
Destroyer.
I'm really feeling that. I do like it. It's really interesting because my vlog today on YouTube is all about kind of 4/4 and whether it's considered kind of drum and bass or whether you call it fast techno or hard tech or any of these things like hardcore and stuff. So it's really, and then a lot of the comments and the discussion in the comments then was about, you know, kind of whether people are feeling the 4/4 and stuff like that. And for some people it just loses the groove. For me, I love those switches. I like to be kept on my toes. I like variation. I also like extremities as well. It would just be finding the right time of night to play something like this. I actually prefer this type of heaviness to a lot of the heaviness I'm hearing in contemporary Nero at the moment, or any type of Nero funk, because it pulls on something a bit rawer. I like those really kind of bit crushed, like distorted kicks, which seem to take up. They seem very fat to me. I don't know if they are actually technically.
oh yes, they definitely are. They're super super full, and I think that's probably why I keep calling it hard style. But we'll call it what did you call it? Crossbreed? Is I want to use the right term here? Not seem like a total idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for those sections where we get back into the kind of the classic drum and bass pattern, what people think of as like do ga. I think where we're there, I wonder if what would help those sections a lot is if we had fills where we had some of the other ghost notes in there as well, not just do ga, where we have gaps in between there with the other synths kind of bubbling and bursting in the background. I want boop, ba, 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 like the extra notes might add a bit of needed swing to the beat, where I think the areas that are just 4/4, they work perfectly fine. I think like those kind of dissonant synths do it a lot of favors actually for this type of music. To have pretty music that's 4/4 craziness, I don't know about that. Like I think it kind of needs to be more gritty and ugly on purpose. Like you want it to have that very guttural character. I think a lot of elements in this track are well executed. I think this track would benefit a lot from some fills that had ghost notes in them. So we heard do like that type of thing where we can get
so maintain the same level of energy almost.
Yeah. Because it's so packed with energy on the boo, 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 the types of sections, those work well, that we almost kind of lose something a bit when we come back to that regular rhythm, because we're not changing the sample. We're using the same snare and the same kick. So those were designed with being very dense in mind. And so when you take it out of that context, it loses a certain something. It's kind of why tracks that are full time, that go to halftime or the reverse, that don't change the drum samples, tend to feel like when they switch that mode, you kind of almost have to have a different drum kit for those particular sections, which is obviously twice the amount of work because now you're having to make a whole new drum kit to fit those areas. But I really wish the fills were more dense with stuff and we peel back those synths a little bit, hit some of those extra drum cycles in between, those 16th notes, to really shuffle it and give us some cool drum fills, and then go back to the 4/4 rather than just moving it on the grid of like, okay, now we're in regular time, now we're in 4/4 and back and forth. Like let's put a few extra little tie-in details just to make those transitions less like super sudden and abrupt. That could be the point of the track though, and I could be completely misunderstanding the intent for a track like this. And like I said at the beginning, I claim no expertise, but it doesn't feel stilted and unexpected in a way that makes me like happy with it. It feels just kind of like, okay, now we're here. I'd like it to feel a little more glued together, but also appreciating the fact that there are people whose DJ sets sound just like this, that are really chaotic and really crazy, and it works super well for them. So I might not be the right person to evaluate like how to put the track together.
So Dysfunction sets are definitely like that, and they've been known to play Gabba in a pub. They're Welsh as well, but I mean I quite like that because there's a lot of crossbreed that I don't like because it's just too kind of linear. So that switch, but I really want to hear what you're suggesting there with that kind of extra variation when it switches to the breakbeats. That would definitely maintain a lot more energy. So we're on to Chazwav now, and he has enabled 2 to 3 downloads. Now what I normally do if there's a choice, I put this out to the chat. So chat, we are either going to listen to Chazwav's Into the Storm or Mirage. I'll just give them the choice of the 2 that you can download there. So there we go. The first person to come up with a track title in the chat, Into the Storm or Mirage. Mirage. Oh, there we go. Coburn straight away. So that says minus 6 dB, so it might be a little bit quiet there. Pre-master
let's
vibe.
see what's going. Yeah, it's a pre-master.
Okay.
We'll give it a whirl. We'll see what happens.
Oh, sorry, D-Pro. Coburn beat you to it there. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Go.
Okay. I think it's silence in the intro here. It'll eventually pick up.
There we go. Yeah. So Chazwav, remind me, because I was already following you and I feel like I've spoken to you on Instagram or something. Your name rings a bell and I was already following you on SoundCloud. So please remind me, because you sent an email as well. I think it's Charlie, but you didn't make any kind of reference to us speaking before. But I feel like I've spoken to you before, or I've definitely, there's something that I've listened to on your SoundCloud which has made me follow you. Anyway, don't think we've spoken. But you do follow me. Well, there we go. Your actions spoke before you. They preceded you. So there you go, your reputation. Ooh. Let's start talking for a bit. Okay, this is interesting. 1, 2, turn up this input as well.
One comment I have right off the bat would be, you don't have to use every note in the scale. It's fine to just keep it more constrained. It's too much. Like, let's focus it in a little bit with that bass line. Because the concept is cool. Like, I like this idea of like a low saw pluck bass line.
I really like the little vocal kind of elements.
Yep, those work. I think they add something.
Yeah, the drums are quite clipped and quite snippy. I like anything that sounds unusual, and these are kind of sounds like, do you know what it reminds me of actually? It's like kind of Spectra Soul. What was the second album?
Ivy Lab.
Yeah, that kind of era. 2015, 2016.
So here's another example. This, whatever that saw riff is in there, it's just a bunch of random stuff, like let's hone it in and just keep it to a riff.
All right, okay. Kimmy and Law comparisons coming up in the chat as well. Yeah.
And if you need a kind of a guiding principle with how to take the bass, what could I sing along to? This is impossible to sing along to. It's like up and down and left and right. Give me something I can remember in my head. You know, do boo boo boo. You know what I mean? Something like that. Or like, let's simplify it to where it's like a recognizable riff. But I think the drums are interesting. I think they work. I don't know if it's just like an overall like widening effect that's put on all of the drums, or if it's just in the snare sample, but it sounds like the stuff below 1K is like out of phase, basically, like it's been over widened. So I'd kind of like to hear that just smooshed in the middle a little more, not let those drums get so wide in the mids. It sounds to me like a doubling or widening effect has been put on it, but without hearing the individual samples, I couldn't tell you that for sure. But I think with the width issue aside on the drums, I think they're fine. Like once you slap them really hard with a limiter or a clipper or something, they'll still sound good, and that's kind of the benefit of drums like this.
Oh no, he's just paused. Whoa.
Zoom just quit unexpectedly is what it said. Anyway, but yeah, with drums like this, the benefit of them is that you can squash them a lot with a clipper or a limiter, and they still sound pretty good up to a point, obviously. So I think this will work once it's been annihilated with a limiter. But first and foremost, let's get a riff going with the bass here. Let's hone it in, and I think you'll have something nice here, because the concept of the track is cool, like a nice minimal drums, minimal type of track. It's fun, it's interesting, it's deep, and it could be really nice if we just refine it.
I really like the textures on it. I like the kind of ghostly little vocal elements. I think the master of that type of vocal processing is his name is completely, he's a garage producer, Todd Edwards. Phew, I'm glad my brain did that then. Yeah, those kind of little kind of process, they're very garagey kind of vocals in that type of way. Chaz is saying there's no stereo on the drums. Yeah, I see what you mean about the bass line. Like, it would be nice to have a kind of like walking bass line in that type of way, where a couple of the notes are taken out and you can really kind of hear more of an arrangement to it. That was one of the most interesting tunes. I definitely kind of play that. I like to start off deep before things go crazy. I think that's super interesting. So thank you very much, Chazwab. And now we're on to Sonnet. Okay, so Sonnet is a kind of demo drop success story, I want to say. Like, he's been on every single one so far. He's been on every single stream. We've connected. We are going to be releasing Sonic music. Actually, no, I think last show we didn't actually play one of your tunes, but this one's called Care for You. Yeah, Sonic is awesome and has become a kind of a staple of this show. Oh, hold on, I've just clicked on. What have I just put? Care for You, but I seem to have just gone on to. Damn! I've literally just gone onto your SoundCloud, so I've ballsed up somewhere here. I need to quickly go on here and
Yeah, for that last tune, like just to throw you an example of like when I hear that type of sound, like that bass sound, I think goo 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 goo. Just as an example, like we could do that. Like what's something I can remember the repeat of, and then on the next 16 we can change it to be like do 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 do. Bring it back around, but let's try to keep it to 4 or 5 notes at most. And that, in my opinion, would work a lot better. But creative advice is very subjective, so you ask 10 people, you're going to get 10 different opinions. But if you're asking me, that's what I would do.
Cool. Right, let's go on now. This is Sonic. Are you ready? Oh
Yep,
no, because you
good.
wouldn't have this, or have you? Have you got this? So it's called Care for You.
I downloaded it.
All right, downloaded it. Okay, cool. Don't know why that didn't open up properly for me. Right. Okay. So 3, 2,
Yep.
1.
We're in. I can tell by the waveform this track's gonna be loud as heck.
Type of tune that makes me go like that. It's really got a good knack of like proper hooks. Like every Sonic tune that I hear, it gets stuck in my head for hours and hours and hours afterwards. I like the variation there. Yeah, very, very bright poppy sound.
Kind of reminds me in a good way of like Tom Finster and
Yep.
guys like that.
Tom Finster, but with a bit more of that kind of liquidity, like the Belgian kind of sound, like Used and people like that.
Yeah. No, that's good.
The word that I throw around quite often, especially with other tracks, is cute. Very euphoric, very, very euphoric.
I appreciate the use of unusual timbres. I've been getting a lot more into that.
Yeah.
Really, unusual sounds go a long way to making the track interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Those little details.
The bass fills are very well executed. Like the actual sounds that are being used are like nice and wet and gloppy and big sounding. That stuff's harder to do than people realize. One thing I do wish was different is the track sounds kind of obliterated, and I can see in the waveform too, like the drums. There's some sort of bus processing on it is really, really clipping the track, and it sounds too distorted. I wish it were a little less so.
What would be your advice in terms of kind of getting around that then, or reducing that effect?
Well, I can actually pull my screen up and show what I'm talking about, because it's more of a visual thing.
O&P has got it cute. So it's how I describe all Sonic tracks. There's going to be some really interesting Sonic activity next year coming up. We're working on something, and it's just as a result of the demo drop. So I've set up this stream to boost new talent and to just check out the newest of the new. But I am slowly starting to side up very interesting music for the label side of One More Thing.
So here's what I'm talking about. So the drums, you can see how, Dave, if you can see my screen here, the tops of them are just completely obliterated. Like it's all flat on the top there. It means that it's been clipped off. And then not only that, but I think there's another layer of clipping going on, like where it's being sent to an aux or something like that, and then being combined together with the other elements. Yeah, so you can see here how it follows this contour, which tells me that it's being clipped and then compressed after the fact, but then some other elements are allowed to clip the output. It's just multiple layers and levels of clipping where the master limiter is clipping it, the drums themselves being clipped, and then you're getting these kind of like intermodulation artifacts here where it sounds kind of like what's called a rectifier effect, where the bottom half of the wave gets cut off. This track would benefit a lot, I think, from just sounding less completely bombed with like clipping and limiting. It can work. Like I'm not saying that loudness is bad. I love making loud tunes. I would just like for it to be less obvious that it's been made super loud here. And again, we've got this, like it's slapping the bottom and then comes up, gets intermodulated to the top, clips only the top. So if this type of like multiple clipping after clipping effects can just be walked back a bit, it would help the fidelity of the track a lot, and I think it would feel more bouncy. But I get it. Like getting loud music is not trivially easy because there's a lot that goes into it and the way you have to design your elements and that kind of thing. But I think there's a better way to do it than this. But as far as the actual songwriting itself is concerned, I actually think the track is very cool. I appreciate that we're taking risks, we're doing new things, and we're taking risks successfully. Like it's not just changing things just to change them for fun. I think the actual songwriting itself, the track is world class. It's very, very good. I like that this track does a lot of things that we don't hear in drum and bass, or if we do hear them, they're not executed very well. Like they're kind of an afterthought, whereas the afterthought, like the quiet part, is said out loud in this track. And I think that's done to great effect. So I think once the technical stuff is kind of more ironed out and it's less blasted sounding, I think this track would be very, very nice. Definitely one of my faves I would have heard for October for sure. I've heard a lot of good music, and this has definitely been one of them.
Brilliant. That's cool. That's amazing feedback. Really, really amazing feedback. There's a few kind of terminologies in the chat that I've not really kind of become aware of before. So Sonic has said it's a ring mod. So do you know what a ring mod is? It's saying the bass and lead get squished together.
Yeah.
With it. So is that purposeful then? So then.
Yeah, and I think the ring mod can stay, to be honest with you. It's just the clipping that's going on everywhere. Like the drums are being clipped before they're even hitting the limiter, and it's sounding too crunched. In my view, you know who's doing this is super guilty of it is Burr Oak. If anyone listens to their tunes, they're over squishing stuff, and I just want to say, I'm not saying loudness is bad. I'm not one of these people. Loudness can be really cool. My tracks are extremely loud as well, but it is worth going to pains to make sure that the loudness is subtle. Where yes, the waveform is extremely tall, and yes, it hits super high in the RMS, but try to mask it a little more, because I think for this track, that very crackly, super clipped character isn't helping. I think this track would be better if it was cleaner sounding and less obliterated sounding. But this is just creative thing again. I say over and over because I don't want people to think that what I'm saying is factually true, or that I think that you know what I mean? Like what I'm saying is like absolutely yes or one way or the other. That's just how I feel about the track.
Cool. And before we go on to the next one now, we've also got Rolling Resistance has said could use New York style compression and limiting. So what's New York? I've never heard of New York style compression.
Yeah, so that's basically when you have a mixture of the dry and wet signal together using an aux. So you would have an aux send where you have an 1176 typically with all the buttons pushed in on it. And then you would squash the absolute daylights out of whatever signal you're sending it into. Funnily enough, I'm using that exact compressor to compress my voice, but not, like that. But you'd apply like 70 dB of like just a ridiculous amount of it, and mix that back in so that you got the effect of the pumping of the compressor, but you didn't lose the very tops of the dynamics. I don't think that's quite what's needed in this track. I think if anything, so that stuff has more room to breathe, you could just use something like LFO tool or even serum effects to duck off the bass, and rather the whole element. Like you have your kick and your snare in one subgroup, you send the MIDI of that to everything else, literally everything else, and use a sidechaining plugin, or serum effects is what I tend to use for it because it's simple, and you just have the whole track duck to -1,000, like to infinity, so that the kicks and the snares are extremely super loud, but psychoacoustically you don't notice it because the sidechaining happens in step with the kicks and the snares. So you would just tighten and tune that envelope so that it matches exactly the shape of your kicks and snares, so you can have them right up to 0 dB, and it doesn't sound like the track clips every time the kick and the snare play. Even though if you were to mute the kick and snare, what would it be? It would be like ha 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 ha. Like you would hear that like ultra super heavy compression, but when the kick and the snare are in, it masks that mentally, so you don't notice the extremely strong side chaining as long as you shape it exactly right. I'm sure that this is what's being done here. I mean, this has obviously been made by someone who's very good at making music. I think just stylistically, there's a couple of things I'd change about how it was produced, but I think anyone who's been producing music for a minute knows how to sidechain stuff with MIDI. But there's a ton of potential here. So I don't mean to like crap all over this track and be like, oh, it sounds like crap. It doesn't. It just needs to be kind of touched up a bit in the approach, I think. And I think they're a big winner chicken dinner here because it is a good tune. I'm not saying it's bad. It's great.
Definitely. Right, so we've reached the point of the show now. I'm going to actually put a cut-off point on this in about kind of quarter of an hour because it's getting quite late for me in the UK at 11:30. So
Cool,
we're going to
nice.
listen to about 3 or 4 more tracks maximum. Let's go for 3. Definitely the next 2, and then I want to kind of pick something from the bottom of the pile then as well. But right, Replete. I'm not too sure if Replete. I think Replete might have been in the chat earlier on. I'm not too sure if he's here now. But Replete again is like a real kind of a consistent character on the demo drop. This one's called Play the Music. We've had some really interesting tracks from Replete, especially the famous Shoe Lady from the very first episode. Ivy, do you have anything on this list? I don't think you do. I think you've only sent me one demo. Let me have a little look. I mean, Ivy, again, like you're always in on the chat. So have a look. Demo Ivy. Right, okay, so what else have we got? Did you send me more than one? I got the Fulcrum track, that's the one that we played before, I think. Oh, no, my latest bit for demo drop. What one was that? That was Adrift. No, okay, right, so we have actually had promo links for my next release. So no, that's a release, that's not a demo. The Power. Ivy, I don't think I've had that one. So we will have to wait until the next show for that one. But I'm going to play Replete now, and as this is playing, maybe we can send it over and let's see, because yeah, you are a consistent member of the chat. Right, okay, so right, let's go. Are you ready?
Yep,
Tia?
sure am. Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'm sure we could have gotten through more tracks if I didn't deep dive everything, but I don't want to just sort of be like, it's fine. Like, I really want to dive in and sort of give people meaningful input.
I think most people are here for the deep dives. I think I'm definitely enjoying the deep dives. I wish I wasn't such a technical dunce, and we probably could have been live a lot earlier than we were.
No sweat, man. We all have our skills, so don't worry about that.
This is where the business happens. Where's it gonna go? Oh no, what's happened? I paused it.
Happens to the best of us.
Right, I'm just... Oof. I need to rewind that because I completely messed up the drop. So Tyr, I'm rewinding it. I'm going to be behind you now. There we go.
Okay, no worries. I'm at a minute 28.
Okay, so taking it back to the start of the build-up. Oof. There's a lot going on there.
That is what I'm noticing. It is a lot. I think this is another contender for my famous please turn off 40% of the elements.
Well, I hope you're happy with yourself, Replete. You've made Tyr leave the chat, leave the whole Zoom call. He's hosting it. Yeah, I think the drums are really, really nice and snappy. I'm feeling these drums. Where has Tyr gone? Let me try and find him. Yeah. Oh. He's back. Boing. Ooh. Hang on. That little boing sound. Right, so let me pause that. What happened then? You said take away 40% of the track. It's almost like the ghost of Replete just came and kicked you out of the Zoom. Oh, he's busy listening to the music now. I hope you're happy now, Replete. I was really, really into that. I think they still felt like there's a lot of work to do in terms of kind of finessing it and polishing it. There's a lot going on. I totally agree with Ivy on the drums, really nice and snappy and rolling. And that bass line kind of had that old school feel, almost kind of bordering on that kind of original sin type of sound, but along like not the more kind of current original sin, but that kind of the earlier one. Maybe something that you might have heard from kind of Serum earlier. Sounds like a track from a Dreamcast game. Go on. So while we're waiting for, I've got to push play again now.
I do notice Dave. But I feel like your volume has gone a lot lower.
What's that?
I was saying I feel like your microphone volume has gone way lower.
Has it?
Me, and I'm not sure if it's something wrong on my end or whatever, but I had to turn down the track almost to nothing to hear.
Oh
you.
wow! Can you hear me now? Is that better now? Or...
I can hear you for sure. I'm just keeping all the the music volume super low.
Okay.
Could just be a me issue, but figured I'd point it out.
Anybody in the chat, let us know there on the levels and stuff like that. I mean, that was a very, very loud track in that type of way. What are your thoughts on that kind of technically?
Yeah, so I have sort of different feelings and different aspects of the tune. I feel like the track, because I don't know when it cut off for me because the Zoom just like crashed, but Okay, so all the levels on that side. All right, so it's just me. All right, I can figure it out, so don't worry about it. I feel like the track doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's just a lot of stuff in one place, and I'm not sure if I can actually identify what the theme of the track is. I think it's supposed to be that bass, I guess, which is fine, I suppose, but I wonder if there's a better way forward in terms of what the theme could be, because I don't know if is a theme. There might be more potential for there to be a hook or something that sticks in my head a bit better, because it's just a lot of chaotic drums, kind of like random zips and zaps and things with like sound effects, and then some pads that kind of just are there. I wish the track felt more like it knew what it wanted to say, which is, I understand, extremely vague feedback. It's not like I'm just telling you to do, well, just change this and that thing and it's done. This sort of, funnily enough, reminds me of how I used to write music like 6 or 7 years ago, where I would just cram a lot of things into one place that I thought were neat. But then the problem is it becomes kind of a cacophony of stuff all in one place, and then everything is trying to say something, and therefore nothing is saying anything as a result. Like the drums being as dense as they are, let's just use that as kind of our starting point. If the emphasis of the track is the drums, let's strip back a lot of those basses and the synths and stuff. Let's not make everything really chatty. And likewise, if the basses and the synths are going to be this full, let's take some stuff away from the drums, but let's not fill up every single element just because our computer's fast enough to render it without lagging. Like there is value in showing restraint. And that's the first thing that sticks out to me, is I think it's just super busy, and I'm not sure what the track's trying to say anymore, is what sticks out to me. I don't think the guy's like some bad producer or anything like this. It just sounds to me like someone who is earlier in their music journey and trying to figure out what they want their music to mean to them, and trying to communicate what you think is good as an artist is a lifelong journey, I will say. I'm not claiming to have figured that out even to this day. But that's what sticks out to me. So it's not like I can just tell you one thing that's going to make this track go from good to great. I think this is what I would call a stepping stone track. It's something you have to write a lot of music to figure out where your voice exists within the universe of music itself. And this might be something where you borrow some elements out of it and then plop them into a new track because you've got one sketch and another half of a sketch, and then you combine them together. That's happened tons of times with my music. I have 4 or 5 tracks. They're all okay, not releasable, but then I plunk 1 or 2 basses out of the old track that I thought were sick and then into the new track, and all of a sudden, there you go. That's how Boo Boo came about. It was a drum kit from a completely different track, and then some other synth lines from a sketch that I was writing, and I didn't like where the drums were going. I just thought they weren't adding anything. Plop those old drums in from a different hip-hop project I was working on, and it's bingo. The track is good to go. That could be something that happens here, but just my 2 cents. It's interesting, but I think this is probably something that you'd want to do some pretty major restructuring on, and then see if you can get this like a lot tighter in terms of what is the idea here. And right now I'm not hearing what it is.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. Because I mean, and like, you know, you had me thinking then where isn't enough of a theme, and I wondered if it is, because I quite like that kind of waviness of that kind of just unapologetic kind of bass line and in your face in that time. When it stuck with me, I can still, like, some tracks don't. I got incredibly bad, like, short-term memory. Something could be said to me and it's completely gone straight away, but it's usually the sign of a quality track for me is if it's still in my head, even kind of 5 or 10 minutes later. I've soaked up a lot of information from you, moved around tracks, eaten some food, and it's still in my head, which is a sign that he's definitely on the right track. It's super interesting to hear you say that. Like, it is, I think the characteristic of it is really interesting. I know that Replete is everything that he sent us so far that we've had on the demo drop has been very different, and he's trying lots of sounds out. So I think I would imagine it'd be interesting to hear what he says about that when he hears your feedback and stuff. But it's definitely like every track that we've heard has been really kind of interesting in lots and lots of different ways. So then we've got time now. We're going to do 2 more tracks. We're going to finish with a bait bootleg from a regular viewer, big up Ivy, which I've just put in at the bottom of the spreadsheet there, but we're going to listen to a Dukin first. So probably I would say one of the biggest names that we've had on this show, perhaps even so far. Goozy has been the biggest name, but I think Adukan like absolutely killing it on In the Lab and things like that. You know, one of the last times we were together in the real world, Adukan was also present as well. Are you aware of him? Have you had any dialogue or aware of his music before we press play?
Yeah, so I'm definitely more than aware. Dukin was at my house a few days ago.
Oh, brilliant. There we go.
Yeah, so...
Big up Giles.
Yeah, so Giles was over here just chilling. He was in town, and he was basically in Toronto for like 2 weeks or so, like visiting his homies and his mom. And he'd hit me up to let me know that he was in town, and I was busy for the first week and a half that he was here. But then we figured it out last Friday, where he took an Uber from his hotel. We had dinner, hung out with Anna. We wrote a garage sketch while we were here. Really nice guy. We exchanged all sorts of, goss and fun stuff. And yeah, he's a really nice dude to hang out with. We met for the first time at Rampage, and then we stayed sort of in touch since then. We'd reply to each other's stories like all the time. And so I first heard about him through Stranger, like Alan, who had bigged him up a long time ago. And I then met him at Rampage, and then had him over at my place. So he was just right on that couch over there, like 72 hours ago. So he had messaged me on Instagram saying I submitted a track. So Giles, just because I know you doesn't mean I'm going to be nice. So
Brilliant,
I'm curious to see what he sent us. I'm sure it's good though. I mean, everything I've heard from it so far has been interesting. So
this is really cool. I love this. I'm really, really glad that we've been able to get to this track then as a kind of penultimate track, and we'll finish with something fun. This has been amazing. This has been really, really good fun. So okay, right. Are you ready for the 3, 2, 1? This is a Dukin Echoes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. So I can't work out. Oh, so Tyr, you've paused on the screen. I'm really, really, really liking the energy on this. Yeah. So for me, I don't think that vocal is cutting through clear enough. I don't know if we've lost Tyr completely. Oh no, there we go. Hopefully joining again. He's back.
updated Zoom recently, and it barely works.
Have you still been able to listen to this while you've been having technical difficulties? Oh, cool.
Download it, so it doesn't affect that. It's just Zoom is constantly crashing.
Yeah, that bit's wicked. Oh no, horrible echo of my voice. Yeah, there's love for this in the chat. This is wicked. And there we go. Just stop.
Yeah.
Very demo kind of ending, or maybe you wanted it to end like that. I'm really feeling that. My only feedback was that the vocal was sitting a little bit too deep in the mix and could do with coming forward a little bit and having a bit more space. I couldn't quite work out what the vocals were saying there, which made me wonder if the vocals were necessary at all, or whether they could be replaced with another texture. But that kind of tranciness and the 4/4 switch on the second drop, which I thought was going to be a build-up, but just carried on as a 4/4 switch, which I really enjoyed. I really like a Duke and stuff anyway. I think that's, I'm really into that, and I've already downloaded it for potential playing and stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I thought you were still listening to it then.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't want to talk over you, but I think the track is very well made, as people have pointed out in the comments. I could do without the vocals personally. I think they take away from the track.
Yeah.
But as far as the quality of production, like everything is exactly where it should be, and this is an example of a track where the clipping works. It steps into the style of the track, especially when the kicks are distorting everything else. There's a time and place for that, and I think in this particular context, it's actually quite called for to have distorted kicks. So good call on that. I like the use of the noise basses there. They really have fizz sound on the basses. I think work well. Nice stereo uses on them as well. Very like modern and techy. I appreciate the writing. The direction's cool. Nothing's too repetitive or too dissimilar. Like it goes in enough places to where it maintains interest, but it also rounds us right back to where we were familiar from the beginning. It doesn't throw too much at us at once. And then when it does switch up, it's like 50% different. So it's still familiar, but not totally like a new track when it goes into a different direction. But yeah, I think the production's really well done. So good job, Giles. Yeah, honestly, if you just mute the vocal, I think the track's pretty well where it needs to be. Having a placeholder vocal can help you kind of ground and orient the mix and the direction of the track. So if it weren't for a proper feature from like an artist that wrote some top line for it, I think even as it is, just without the vocal, I think your track's pretty well there. Maybe just give it like a little more proper of an outro, or if the intent is to have it hard cut on that last beat, then fair enough too, because the rest of the track is quite polished sounding. It sounds pro, ready for release, or very well, like close to ready for release. So very, very little that I would have to say that would improve the track, because I think it's already in a really good place.
Brilliant. That's great feedback there, and thank you very much to Dukin for sending that in. I'm glad that I squeezed that in. So we are going to play one more track from Ivy. We haven't played quite as many tracks as normal because we've gone on such a deep dive. I think it's been amazing. What a great addition to the show, and a whole other perspective, really. Like, you've really, this is why people would send any music for feedback, to get that level of kind of technical feedback, which is the one thing that I was really scared of doing something like this, because I can't go on that deep technical level, really. So this has been great. I think we've complimented each other with the feedback and stuff like that. And thank you to everybody who's kind of who's stayed with us on the chat and stuff despite technical issues. And I've noticed looking at OBS that because we were playing around with the chat layer in Stream Elements, and nobody can actually see. When I put this up on YouTube, you can see the names of people coming in, but all of the text is transparent. It's only when there's a light thing behind it, when you've gone and my screen takes up the whole thing, when you've had to leave Zoom or been kicked off Zoom, that you can actually see the comments. You can see who the comments are, but you can't see what's so there's lots of technical things I've learned from doing this one, but it's been amazing. The level of music has been amazing. It's been great with everybody in the chat, and your feedback has been phenomenal. This has been awesome. So yeah, we're gonna finish off with Ivy's cheeky bootleg. We won't call it a bait bootleg. There we go. Thank you very much, Anna, as well, and everybody in the chat. Like, this is amazing. I really enjoy doing these streams, and I'm glad we persevered with the technical things. So I've got to say, everybody, Tyr's EP is out on Monday. His single is out now, I Made a Boo Boo. Any type of support, plays, streams, loves, letters of appreciation, award nominations, any type of positive energy that you can put in the direction of this release would be hugely appreciated. And it's an amazing listen, absolutely amazing listen. So thank you very much, OMP, Ivy, and everybody else. We're going to finish off now with the Power Tripping, it's called, and you will know why in 1 sec. So you ready for the 3, 2, 1?
Just about. It's just finishing the downloads. Got 90%. Okay, I'm queued up. Let's do it.
3, 2, 1 for the final time. Let's go.
Yeah. We're in. Interesting, he's got a comment from Yamatai Records. It's a very respectable label.
Oh, hang on. What, this the Power Tripping one?
Yeah, if you look on SoundCloud, Yamatai left a comment.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
So, love that when the label's checking your stuff.
Yeah. Brilliant. Let me just bung that in there. Oh no. Not the email. I want the SoundCloud link. Oh, which I could have just taken from the actual song. Lots of fun. So I have actually already downloaded this. Ivy sent me this after one of the first streams which he was on. I think it was the second stream. I've already got this on my record box waiting for my next set. This is a good fun bootleg. Yeah. Big shout out to everybody in the chat who can actually remember this being in the charts the original time. I don't want to bait you out on your age, anybody though. I know there's at least 3 people in the chat though. Well, there's more than 3 people in the chat, but 3 people who are old enough to remember this.
When did the original come out, Dave? I'm struggling to remember that.
I'm gonna say 1990. It might be 89. 89 actually.
Like, I know the track obviously, but I'm not like that hip on the release date. But it was on the radio when I was a kid.
1990.
90. Yeah, that makes sense.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. That is a claim to fame and a half. Rolling Resistance saw them at Wembley live supporting MC Hammer. Sick.
I wonder what MC Hammer's up to now.
Busy telling people that they can't touch things, like just going around putting labels on things that people can and can't touch. I would imagine. So I think for me, if I was going to bootleg that tune, so thank you very much, Ivy. Like I've been quite vocal about bootlegs. I've made a vlog about them recently. Like I did write a huge thought piece for Mixmag once saying never play bootlegs, never made bootlegs, always concentrate on original material. But to be honest, like they're amazing party tunes. You need the odd bootleg to get the people, to get the stragglers in on the dance floor and stuff. People need familiarity. Familiarity is just as important as featureism and breaking rules and things like that. Our pleasure, Ivy, for the play there. My bit of feedback, because my favourite bit of the tune has always been that it's getting quite heavy, getting like this, and that bit, it's like almost a kind of build-up-y bit, isn't used as much. I would use that. I would create this fucking huge build-up with that. It's like I would use that momentum would be my focal point if I was going to play around and re-edit that tune in a way. But I love the switchy drums. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing this in a set at one point when I can. And it's great that we played it now actually on this show, because one of my next demo drop projects between now and the next stream in 2 weeks' time is to make a mix of my favourite tunes that we played over the last 4 weeks, possibly with little snippets from the clips as well in between, and make a kind of showcase of all of this. So now I can play that tune in the mix as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Tyr?
Yeah, that actually didn't even come to mind, Dave, that that re-editing to feature more of the original, but man, that's a good call. That's a really good call. The way I would recommend approaching this is instead of just taking the instrumental and filtering it down to kind of make the other elements less audible, use a free program called Ultimate Vocal Remover. And I've used this to great effect to take the vocals out of music that I wanted to bootleg. If you guys purchase the album that's coming out, you'll actually get one of my bootlegs that I'm talking specifically about from Chaos. That particular program, while it takes a while to run, if your computer is not sort of top spec with a good graphics card on it, is well worth the wait, because the quality of the vocals you're going to get out of something like Ultimate Vocal Remover versus using whatever online AI stem separator or whatever else is so crazily above the quality that you would get from anywhere else that it would be difficult to find a reason that you wouldn't use Ultimate Vocal Remover, and it's free. So you just go download it. Like, even if it's not something you're going to use a ton, and there's kind of an unconventional use case for that as well, is if you're recording vocals at home and you have too much headphone bleed in your vocals, UVR still works for that. So it can take the music that's getting picked up on your cans out of the mic relatively effectively. And I've done that for take that we've done for Anna, where we were really happy with the take. We're not going to retake it, but man, I just hear way too much in the background or something like that. Run it through UVR. You can barely tell that the UVR has been applied to it. It's good enough for studio release. There's music out there right now that we've done that with. So,
wow.
You know, I would challenge you to find which stuff has been run through UVR. So that's what I would do if I were you, is rip the vocals with UVR unofficially. Of course, I'm not recommending anyone pirate anything, but if you're going to, UVR works quite well as long as your computer is pretty good. Like, it's got to be pretty well spec'd, or it's going to take you 7 or 8 hours to run it. So make sure you have a graphics card if you're going to do that. But you could get that to great effect because, as Dave said, if you have some of the main hooks going there, the things that people would know from when they were, you know, a teenager or a kid or whatever else, that's kind of the whole point of a bootleg, I think, is to get the sing-along element If you think of a track that works well in a sing along that isn't a bootleg, Cientella, why does that work? Because it's easy, it's upfront, it's big, it's bombastic, the vocals a lot of fun. It's a sample from something else, but people sort of know it as the Cientella vocal, even though it's actually from a different tune. But the point is like it's right up front and center and it's memorable. And I think you can use that to your advantage with this track because everyone knows this. Like everyone knows this track. So get UVR going, do a re-edit as Dave suggested. I'd like to see the track itself maybe go in a couple of more directions. I kind of feel the same as I did about some other tunes where it feels like the arrangement's just been kind of Control C, Control V a bunch of times, and it doesn't really evolve at all. Like it kind of just stays doing the same thing like every 16 and 32. So if that's the case, you probably only need to have this as a single drop track, to be honest. Like it's fine if it's a 2.5 minute track, because if it's a party tune for DJing, you're not going to play the second track anyway. And I don't believe you if you say that you all well actually do. No, you don't. Like we all play like 48 bar and 64 bar mixes. So just make it like a 2.5 minute tune. That's totally fine. And give yourself like a little outro that's easy to mix into the next one. You can even fake build it in if you want to, like another kick rise, get the synth rise and whatever, and then cut it off right on the end there. And then that gives you enough headway for the next DJ segment. But let's give it some variety for sure. A few other interesting synth bits, different edits of the track, take different sections. Because remember, if you UVR it, you can also do the reverse. You can have an instrumental only of the track if you want. So you can have little snippets from that instrumental, come do a little riff on there, come back out, some of your own original production, sprinkled in here and there. Be creative with it, right? I think the stuff you have in there right now is too much of a tease. Like I don't hear enough of the track to like feel like, oh man, I really want to sing along with this, because it's just kind of the same 2 or 3 bits played over and over. So I think Dave's 100% on the money with that. Let people sing along for 40 seconds or whatever, for like a 32 bar section, build it in, drop them into an unexpected drop, or there you go. Because the track has a lot of elements that are fun and cool. Like I'm not saying it's a total rewrite, but just give them more, right? Because you're hitting that nostalgia thing very hard. And I agree. Like I think there was a time where bootlegs were kind of seen as being this kind of, but honestly, if you think about it, everyone's bootlegging everything, because the Amen breaks a bootleg of the original Amen brother from the Winstons. I mean, how do you subdivide that to a point where this type of copying is fine, but then another type of copying is not fine? Like a drum break is technically bootlegging another track, but all of a sudden when you take the vocals, it's like not cool. So I think there's too much elitism around that. Like I think if it's sampled tastefully, and if it adds something to the track, and if it says something that some other version of the track hasn't said before, you're adding something to the conversation, then that's enough. And break some ground, do some things, be experimental. That's all totally cool. And with bootlegs, just make sure you're hitting those sections that people are going to remember for sure. And you'll have a lot of success with that. People love that stuff when you're playing that in sets. So absolutely, man. I think you're onto something for sure.
Amazing. What a brilliant piece of feedback to end with there. Like your details and your thoroughness has been outstanding. This has definitely been a great addition and a whole new perspective on the show. I really wish that people on YouTube watching this in the future will be able to see the chat, but unfortunately the settings are all wrong. So you can just see names. That's you can see that there's an active audience listening in real time and I'm responding. Like these are the makers of the music, and it's great to have the makers of the music within the community all chatting away, to have you feeding back, for me to just get into the vibes and just share my appreciation of it all. This has been brilliant. Tyr, thank you so much for taking part in the demo drop. Thank you to everybody who's watched. We've had some mad numbers earlier on, some really, really good numbers for me for Twitch, which I'm really, really happy about. Thank you very much. Thanks for bearing with us for the little technical difficulties, and I'll be back again soon, and I'd like to invite you again for another slot on this, maybe in we'll do the next demo drop, and then maybe if you come back in 4 weeks time as we're kind of wrapping up the promo on the hunt, and we'll have a bit more to reflect upon and stuff. I think it'd be great to have you back on the show really while we're kind of working together very closely on your release, if you're up for that.
No, absolutely. And I don't think it necessarily has to just be limited to, well, the release is done now, I'm not back on the show anymore. Like I think it's an interesting format, and it gives me an excuse to talk about music with a bit of an audience as well. And not only that, but it's one thing to talk about commercially released music because you're just kind of screaming into a pillow. I find like with it's music, it's already out there. Like what does it matter what your opinion is? But if it's music that's not yet out, you have the opportunity to help shape and guide that music. And so I think that's the gold for me is the stuff that's still in whip or in demo unreleased form, because then it's like, all right, let's dig into this. Let's make sure this release goes from good to great.
Yes.
That for me is super rewarding. And I think I already do a fair bit of that kind of like Instagram DM A&R type of stuff, but I appreciate having this format where I can talk about it, sound out my thoughts in real time, even if they don't always make sense of like, oh, well, like we're just hanging out and having fun and listening to music. So I think this is a great format you have here, Dave. So I really don't mind at all continuing to come on your show if you'll have me.
Amazing. I will definitely have you back on another show. And hold on one moment though, I just need to turn that off. So I don't know if anybody can hear. Have you been able to hear my laptop? I think my laptop wants to get involved in the demo drop and kind of sing or just make weird noises. Like the fan is broken on it. So any weird random noises that you might have heard in the background, that's my laptop trying to get feedback off you on the demo drop. So my final little note in the chat there, bang, is the pre-save link for the hunt. Everybody who's out there, please check that out and support that, and come back again in 2 weeks time. We'll be back at the normal time of 7 p.m. I think I will fill you all in via the various platforms that we have. Tyr, I'll let you enjoy your evening. Thank you so much, and I'll chat to you again really soon regarding the release and everything, like in the next couple of hours. And everybody else, thank you so much. I will speak to you all on social media and the next demo drop in 2 weeks time. Thank you very much. This has been amazing. Cool. There we go.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Brilliant.
We'll chat soon.